Namaste yogis, welcome to my channel. My name is Kassandra and today I'm doing a heavily requested practice. This is a Yin Yoga class for hormonal balance. So you guys have been asking about this for a very long time, and I've been hesitant to put something like this together because while yoga can absolutely help support proper hormonal balance, it's important to remember that yoga is not necessarily a cure. So I'm always very cautious when doing yoga classes that can be perceived as cures for illnesses and disabilities or any kind of conditions, because really it can absolutely support your overall health, but it shouldn't be confused with a cure. So that being said, there are definitely a lot of ways that Yin Yoga specifically can facilitate proper hormonal balancing. Basically, anyone who has an imbalance in their hormones knows that it can be aggravated and made worse by stress. So practicing these more restorative types of yoga, such as Yin Yoga, is a great way to lower cortisol levels, so to lower stress overall and facilitate proper hormonal balance. Another thing, we're going to do a lot of poses that are twisting in nature, or some are going to be forward folds as well as inversions. And these are all kinds of poses that help to compress and decompress the internal organs, as well as send blood flow to certain parts of the endocrine system. So by twisting or by compressing, decompressing, and like bringing energy to the endocrine system, which is like the thyroid, your pancreas, the adrenals, that's how we're really supporting our endocrine system in general, and that's how we can in turn support our hormonal balance. So whether you have issues that are specifically with the thyroid or with the adrenals or with your pancreas, this should be a really nurturing sequence for you to do to just lower stress levels overall. So I will ask that you have 2 blocks somewhere close by for this practice, and we are going to begin in a child's pose. So maybe the most nurturing pose of them all. And we'll keep this one fairly simple. So big toes come together, knees are only hip width distance apart or shoulder width distance apart, making this very restorative in nature. You can just let your belly rest over your thighs, your arms can reach back, and let your third eye come in contact with the floor. So this variation of child's pose is one of the most stress relieving yoga poses that we can do. But truthfully, all yoga poses can technically support hormone balancing, simply because almost all yoga poses target some part of the endocrine system. So that's why I don't want you to get too caught up on the poses themselves. Rather, it's the overall practice of these restorative styles of yoga which will be the most beneficial in the long run. But I will show you some great poses that you can do on a regular basis. Child's pose being the first one. So try to slow down your breath here. Deep belly breathing. Getting the inhale to be just as long as the exhale. So we will be in this pose for a few more minutes. Allow yourself to relax fully. So we'll do a pose here called rabbit next, and we won't be holding it for quite as long as this child's pose, just for maybe 5 to 10 breaths or so, but it is especially good for your thyroid. So a nice little inversion. You can hold on to the back of your heels and just roll lightly towards the crown of the head. So in this pose, we are sending a lot of blood flow into the throat, into the crown of the head. So really nurturing for the endocrine system. And just breathe here. And let your hips come back down. Use your hands to lift yourself up nice and slow. And just take a moment here, resting your hands on your thighs. Just so you don't get dizzy or we don't rush. And you can move your heels out of the way. Extend your legs out in front of you. We're going to take a caterpillar pose, so a forward fold. Forward folds are probably one of the poses that have the most stress relieving benefits. So especially if you are in a stressful time, I would encourage you to fold forward whenever you can. And because we are going to be in this pose for a few minutes, use as many props as you would like underneath the chest or underneath the forehead. And you can let your spine naturally round so that gravity does most of the work for you here. Normally, we would keep a straight spine when folding forward in a hatha yoga class, but that's only because we are actively engaging the muscles. Because in yin, we are relaxing the muscles, it's perfectly safe to let yourself take whatever shape feels the best for you. Just relax your arms and soften into the pose a little bit more with every breath. Really important here that you engage your arms and super slowly start to ease your way out of this forward fold without rushing, and keep breathing even as you transition here until you get your shoulders aligned over the top of your hips. Now let's get into the hips a little bit more with a twist. So I'll give you some options here depending on the flexibility that's available to you today. So option one is to do square pose with a twist. So square pose, you would try to stack one shin on top of the other. So flexing both feet, my right ankle is over the left knee, my right knee is over the left ankle. You might have a bigger gap in between the legs, which is perfectly fine. You can close it off by using a block, either under one leg or under both of them. But if this is really not working for you today, you can modify it very easily by simply bringing one shin in front of the other. So letting your right shin be a little bit further, like an inch or so past the left one, almost as if you were going to cross your legs, but it's just one shin in front of the other. So choosing the variation of the legs that works the best for you. Lengthen up through the spine, and we're going to initiate a twist. So rotating the torso over towards your right foot, and you can move into a forward fold. And I like to nuzzle my right elbow into the sole of the foot, make a little fist, and then pressing the left palm into it, I can rotate the chest open towards the left. So you should feel this as a deep rotation through the spine. Definitely one of the best twists that we can do for the endocrine system. And again, it might look different depending on what it is that you're doing with your legs. Just try and get an upper body twist. Always sending your breath deep down into your low belly. This is key to relieve stress. And start to lift back up, unwrapping the spine. You should definitely feel it. And we're gonna ease our way to the other side, but before you do this, it might feel good just to bring the feet flat on the mat and let the knees drop side to side in a windshield wiper motion. And moving either into your square pose with a twist or just stacking one shin in front of the other instead of on top of the other. Try to keep your feet flexed. This helps to protect the knee. And as you lengthen up through your spine, you're going to rotate, this time facing over to your left foot, so rotating to the right. And you can bring your elbow somewhere. I like to nuzzle it into the sole of the foot. You can also place it on a block if that works best for you. Making a fist, bringing the right hand over top and rotating from here. Try to create even more space between the crown of your head and your tailbone. Come on up, nice and slow. And again, you can do that windshield wiper motion with the legs, or maybe just stretch your legs out in front of you. Whatever feels good here. So we'll be moving into a laying spinal twist. And afterwards, I'll be giving you the option of either doing legs up the wall. So if you're close to a wall, you can move up towards it after, or just keep a block somewhere close by and we'll do a waterfall pose instead. So just have props close within grabbing distance. And as you lower down onto your back, you can bend your knees, feet flat on the floor, open up your arms into the shape of a T, and we'll take our laying spinal twist. So your hips can move a little bit over towards the right, and then both knees drop down over to the left. And you can choose to just stack one leg over the other, or you can make this a little more intense by wrapping your right thigh over the left one. As much as possible, try to keep your right shoulder on the mat. Let's unwrap the legs nice and slow. Making our way to twist on the other side. So your hips can move over to the left and your knees can drop down over to the right, either keeping one over the other or wrapping the left thigh over the right one. Try to anchor your left shoulder blade on the mat. Unwrap the legs, lifting and floating the knees back up. And finally, before coming into Shavasana, you could make your way up against the wall and just lift your legs and let your heels lean against the wall. Or you can do it the way I normally like to do it, which is simply by putting a block underneath the hips and extending your legs straight up to the sky for Waterfall Pose. All we're trying to do is get the legs to be weightless. This is one of the most restorative poses out there. Really wonderful in periods of high stress, or even if you just spend a lot of time on your feet. Because this is an inversion, it's really nourishing the entire endocrine system. So flooding everything with blood all the way to the crown of the head. So try to relax your legs, relax your arms, really surrender to the pose. Bend your knees slowly. And we'll make our way into Shavasana, our final resting pose. If you were doing this legs up the wall, at the wall, and you prefer to stay as you are, you can do Shavasana that way if you'd like. Otherwise, you can move your props out of the way, turn your palms facing up to the sky, and let yourself relax. Notice if there's any tension in the facial muscles, in your jaw, and your neck, or your shoulders. Try to let it go fully. Open yourself up to the possibility of wellness, of health and vitality, knowing that your healing is already in progress. And let's wake back up by deepening our breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, your wrists and your ankles. And lightly, gently turn your head side to side. And stretch your arms up overhead. Great big stretch here. And we'll roll to one side so that we can come up to take a seat. Keep your focus inward. Sitting up nice and tall, and join your hands together at the front of your heart. Let's close our practice with the chant of Om one time. Inhaling to chant, big breath in. Namaste. Thank you so much, yogis, for doing this Yin Yoga practice with me. I would love to know how this went for you, and if you are new to my channel, please do subscribe. It's very simple, and it's an easy way to support free yoga on the internet. I would love for you to also leave me a comment down below and just let me know how this went for you, and if you plan on practicing this style of yoga a little bit more. Just restorative yoga and Yin Yoga in general can be really, really therapeutic and beneficial for the endocrine system and for hormonal balance. Thank you all so very much. Namaste.